last year when I came, I mentioned the elephant in the room, which it still is the elephant in the room, parking, and everybody keeps having fantasies of eliminating it. And I use that term appropriately, fantasies of eliminating parking. So let me talk a little bit about the realities of eliminating parking first, and let me also talk about what some students and I have been working with. I think this is interesting. So in 2004, a firm out of the Washington, D.C. area, Torti Gallius, worked on a project that was going to, it was in Florida, to put in pod cars. And this was what it was a brand new community from scratch. So this is what they would have designed, and this is what they did design. And the point of this was to have this type of automated pod car type mobility. It was basically at the time a retirement community process. So they were dealing with the elderly population and providing mobility services for them within the community. And you notice the transformation of the street and the transformation of the entire area. Last fall, I worked with San Jose State University and the engineering students at San Jose State University, who designed a solar-powered, what they call a Spartan Superway pod car system. It's a elevated hanging system, and but it's completely run by solar. And this is, a physical, real mock-up of the system that does function. So my point in showing this today, because Alan really wanted me to just focus 100% on parking, my point is if you really want to eliminate parking, you have to put together the connectivity of walking and transit and biking, and you eliminate any type of vehicle use, period. Automated or gas-powered or driving across the country or however you want to fantasize the vehicle. The only way you are really truly going to eliminate parking is to provide for every single person to have that accessibility to mobility. And this was actually the goal from our students and the San Jose State University students to look at San Jose and say, could we possibly provide a car-free environment in San Jose? And they cannot connect their north and south campuses for San Jose State. And so we looked at the Spartan Superway system that the engineering students designed, and we started to imagine how it would connect and then help to provide, if people lived in San Jose, to completely provide mobility without any type of vehicle. If you're not aware of Architecture 2030, it's something that we as architects have been working on, which is about getting to net zero and even beyond, getting to providing energy through our buildings. They are now adding the transportation emissions reductions as part, because what has been realized is that even if we as architects have all of our buildings providing their own energy and even providing energy to the grid, even if we retrofit all of our existing buildings to accomplish that goal, we cannot reach the goal because of transportation. So transportation and architecture are always completely linked. So let me talk just a little bit about parking, because I've been talking to a lot of people about parking since the conference started, and many people are very interested in it because, of course, we can't just all of a sudden have everybody in the United States walking, biking, or on transit. We're just not structured that way. So we will still need parking, and parking will change. The existing parking garages, I believe, will be retrofitted for these new automated vehicles, if indeed, in either way, whether they're private or whether they are a fleet type system. Your street parking will probably disappear now because of the pressure for dropping off you know, if you think about New York City and all the cabs, you know, you need a place for this to happen or else your street stops functioning. So you're going to lose all your street parking, you know, during this transition period as all this is happening. Where does that go? So now maybe it goes into the parking garages that you currently existing have. Maybe the parking garages become your drop-off points. Maybe cars aren't allowed, the new vehicles, whether they're automated, you know, they aren't even allowed. They have to go into the garage to drop you off, where then you have to walk like you would normally would if you were driving your private vehicle. Now, it dawned on me yesterday, so I was really grateful to be invited here and listening to everybody's presentations yesterday. It dawned on me yesterday, and this is probably going to sound terrible, but you may not want automated Uber or Lyft if your goal is to reduce parking. And the reason being is that if you keep the system now where a person, it's their car, it's their personal car that's doing Uber or Lyft, they take that car home at night. If it's now part of a fleet system, even though it may reduce it, you know, the number of vehicles, you still have to put those vehicles somewhere at night. So there's a lot of interrelationships going on here that aren't, from my perspective, simple to quantify. Now, a lot of people are starting to share data with me, you know, in terms of the reduction of the need for spaces, and that may occur, but you've got to remember, I think that street parking issue is going to be a big one. So what would I be doing right now if someone's asked me to work on a project in an area that is really exploring new mobility? I would say you need to look at your parking as something that you maybe have to construct now, but will be able to be reused as a different building type. So our, you know, popular garage that really started in the 50s, the you know, sloped floor garage that we're all familiar with when we think of a garage, those were not typical until the 50s. I mean, there were a few in the early, around 1908, and they were all for cab companies. Some of the earliest garages, and they were designed to be the sloped floor for the efficiency of the cabs flowing in and out to do their work in 1908, 1910. But the regular other garages that existed at that time were all flat floor plate garages with a ramp somewhere as part of it. They're not as efficient, which is why we don't see them, because we went into that period of needing so many parking spaces. Parking garages became designed to be as efficient as they possibly could be. But if we go back to some of these old, and there are many different ways to do it, if we go back to flat floor plate garages, you have an ability then to retrofit that garage as these changes occur for housing, for many other type of buildings. But what to me is the most fascinating are automated parking garages, which have been around. If you look at the one picture there from 1908, and it was built, I think, in 1904 in Paris. Automated garages actually have an incredible ability for retrofitting, and they, because of the way they're designed with this gap in the center and flat floor plates on the sides, that gap in the center is the ideal place then to run all your systems, your elevators, your egress, and you use the flat floor plates on the sides, which then have access to the exterior and windows to create housing. There's one in Athens, Georgia. The automated garage was built in the 50s. It's now housing. So I think people need to really start thinking creatively if you're working on projects that are engaged with parking and you're in areas where you're really thinking about smart mobility. You really want to have these discussions with your architects and your designers. One of the projects from the students, so in one semester in our comprehensive master's studio, we design an urban design as well as an individual building, which is taken through early design development stages. So I don't know if you can see the Spartan Superway, the little blue line there coming through, and that's the new hotel for downtown San Jose, and how the solar-powered Spartan Superway might fit into this hotel. And this hotel has been completely designed to be passive. It literally has no systems and will be comfortable for the temperature and climate in San Jose. Now, it may just look like, you know, a hotel to you, But to get to that capability within this building takes a tremendous amount of effort and work in understanding the relationships of the spaces to north, south, east, and west, and to the prevailing winds, and to design appropriately for it to be able to function passively, especially for something as large as a hotel. We worked with many people in San Jose who were very good at that, and it was also obviously, well, not obviously, but it was also solar powered. So solar was able to provide for the needs. This was some of the urban designs that were thought through for downtown San Jose, and I think it's pretty exciting. I have been doing work in this area since about, 2002, and some of the earliest thoughts, design thoughts in the very beginning by the students in thinking about this new mobility and how it might reorganize how we think about how we move through cities, and really thinking of it as this total vertical horizontal system. So this was a fun idea from one of the students to go from port to building without ever going on a street. And so I've been doing work with the Transportation Research Board and with groups of people from the metropolitan planning organizations. We had one group that called themselves the Revolutionaries, and they really had a fun vision, a really transformative vision of how this might work. And this is actually little automated vehicles, electric vehicles on the roof of a building coming through the system. Last but not least, don't forget that you can address resiliency. So many places are being challenged by the issues of rising sea, changing temperature, changing climate. And so as you begin to design these new environments, you need to start and really understand how to allow that sort of challenge to be put in. So if not having your streets being asphalt and now being able to allow them to handle water and other issues. We were also dealing with earthquake here in San Jose and how that we might provide better safety. So I've thought for quite a while that all of this was going to be symbiotic. And I think we're reaching the point now, and I love seeing what Stan presented, where we're starting to understand how that symbiosis can be shown to work. So thank you very much.